All right, what's going on in class? This is your professor, Dr. JSK Austin, and welcome to week number 5. That is right, week number 5 of your 7314 course, which is your reference class. As always, you can speed me up. I'm going to do a quick check-in video today. We are going to keep this under 20 minutes, and I know I say that a lot, but I'm not just saying it this time because I really do have a baby that I am sort of tending to, and so she and I are going to hang out once I finish my check-in videos for this week. So I'm going to have to keep them brief this week. I hope everybody is staying safe, staying warm. I've been affected by the snowstorm, as I'm sure all of you or most of you have. I mean, even Texas has been affected by this winter storm, so it goes deep. It goes very deep. So, having said that, let's first look at some things around the course, and then after that, we will get into just a quick look at a legal database. And if you want to learn more about this legal database, then find out if it's offered at your public library, and if so, then play around with it. So when I talk about databases in this class, one thing that I want you all to realize is I'm giving introduction and I am also giving context. So when you would use that database, but I repeat, I am not training you exactly on how to use the database, because check-in videos just are not long enough for that type of action. So I can introduce you to things and let you know what things are and what they do, but after that, practice is what's going to make perfect. So you are going to need to practice in order to get better with these databases. All right, so that is that. Let's roll into a few course updates right now. I'm going to make myself smaller, and we are going to go to... Okay, so the next assignment that you are going to have due is going to be the... Oh yes, we do have a sync session on February the 23rd. That kind of snuck up on me. That is when we are going to have my buddy Dustin Koopman from Mid-Continent Public Library come to talk to us. So yes, that is going to be next week, a week from tonight. So I need to check in with Dustin and make sure he's going to be okay. It is going to be warmer next week, so yes, that's hopefully going to make things a little better for Dustin. And aside from that, I do need to just make sure that everything is a go. But if we do have the sync session next week as scheduled, then please know that there will be no check-in video next week. So that's the first thing. Reminder, there is a check-in video next week. There is a sync session next week, and like I said, that even snuck up on me. So it very well may have snuck up on some of you as well. All right, so as far as, and actually what I'm going to do, okay, it's already here. So here's the thing. Again, Dustin Koopman is going to be our speaker next week. I am going to show you, so this may take over 20 minutes because I wasn't planning to talk about this. But if you have some questions that you would like to ask Dustin ahead of time, or that you want me to consider asking him ahead of time, then what you can do is, if you're on our homepage, you can go to discussions. And as you can see, by the way, a few of you missed the introductions post discussion prompt. I do want you all to be able to just navigate a Canvas site, because if you're going to be expected to navigate a database or anything like that, or any sort of software for cataloging, then yes, you do need to be able to navigate a Canvas site as well. So this is where the introductions were, and you will also see, if you scroll down, and I'm in student view, by the way, so everything that I'm seeing, you all should be able to see. You will see this discussion thread, or this discussion prompt that says questions for Dustin Koopman. And so I will need to change this because we won't necessarily have plenty of time when he is speaking, or after he is speaking, because we now have 50-minute sync sessions as opposed to an hour and 15 minutes. But I'm still going to allow some Q&A, and after 7:50 Central Time, you will be free to go, but you're welcome to stick around and ask a few more questions after that. Now, so again, that sync session is next week. Also next week, well, not also next week. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. That one thing threw me so hard. Okay, so your reference practice and paper is due on February the 28th. So that is a week from this coming Sunday. So you essentially have nearly 2 weeks to get this done. You already should have your partner assignments. And what you can do is go ahead and get this assignment done and turned in. It should be in my assignment portal by February 28th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. Now, if you're a few minutes late, I'm not going to count off. I'm not that type of professor, but definitely you need to go ahead and get that turned in. And if it's egregiously late, then there will be point consequences for that. So those are the two main things other than the discussion posts that you need to be worried about over the course of the next 2 weeks. Your virtual reference practice and paper is due in about a week and a half, between a week and a half and 2 weeks, and we will have a synced session a week from today, because I will be uploading this on Tuesday the 16th, and that synced session will be Tuesday the 23rd. All right. So those are the updates, and now let's just go to this legal forms database. I want to make sure you all know about this. It's generally offered by public libraries. I don't know if law libraries like at Mizzou or UMKC offer it or not, to be honest with you. Most of the people I know access these through their public libraries. But I am going to pause. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to look at a legal forms database, and this is going to be specifically Missouri legal forms because I am teaching for the University of Missouri, and quite a few, if not the majority of you, are here in Missouri. However, I used to be a public librarian in North Carolina, and pretty much the same database for North Carolina legal forms exists, so it probably exists for your state. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and just make sure that, for one thing, whatever public library you belong to in whatever state, be it Missouri, Kansas, Virginia, Oregon, LA, whatever. Well, LA is not a state, but wherever you are, I want you to access your public library and see if you can get the localized legal forms database for your state. And if you are not able to find them, then chat with a librarian, and a librarian may be able to help you find them. So, but this is very useful, and I have, once I actually learned about this database and how to use it and when it was appropriate to use it, I have helped out friend after friend after friend by looking up some legal forms for them, providing them with the legal forms, and letting them do what they needed to do with them. So, I'm going to minimize myself. And I am at the Mid-Continent Public Library website in Metro Kansas City. So what we need to do is, and if you can't find the database, that doesn't mean, again, that your public library doesn't have it. Chat with a librarian, and they can probably direct you as to exactly how to get to it. But what we are going to do is we are going to go to, and I only know this because I am familiar with this site, but we're going to go to legal, and it's a legal database. So go to legal and click view resources, and then I'm just going to scroll, and I'm going to scroll to what you see here, Missouri legal forms. So if you are not aware of this database, it's a good one to know. I'm going to log in here. Okay. So it will take you to this Gale Forms landing page, and again, so I'm not going to actually train you on how to use the database right now. I'm making you aware of it and some of its features, and what you need to do is do some self-directed learning and try to learn more about the database if you are interested in mastering it. Practice, again, makes perfect. But what we are going to do is take a look at some of the features that this database has to offer. So first of all, you can browse the main categories, and so again, this is One thing that me and my friends have used this for is I've definitely used it for like contracts for my fraternity when we've hired DJs and things like that. I've used it for that. I have used it to look up things related to landlord-tenant law and various other things. So you will see all of the various main categories that you have here. And I've also, I provided somebody with a divorce form too, so that was in the marriage category. So what you can do is you can go to these categories, you can browse around, see which one you need. Let's say that I wanted let's say I did want a divorce form. So if I wanted a divorce form, I could go to this marriage one right here. And, okay, maybe this wasn't it. I am going to pause and make sure I find it. Actually, I'm not in this database every day, so I see exactly what I did. So usually when I'm looking up the divorce forms I actually get them from, I'm going to go back. So I'm sure they are categorized within here as well, but where I was finding them was actually over here in the left. As you can see, the most popular legal form searches, if you go to divorce, that's where I was getting the divorce forms. And so again, these are for the state of Missouri in this case, but again, Gale produces this database for quite a few states. So I've accessed it for North Carolina and I've accessed it for South Carolina, and more than likely they've got something for your state that you can access through your public library. So let's say that now newly divorced individuals package, that's a lot going on, but let's scroll and find. Now, and I am going to scroll, so one thing that what might be worth looking at, first of all, if you scroll down, you'll see a lot of good stuff in here. Like you will see things related to property settlements. You will see things related to child support. All of these custody, all of these various things, legal forms that may be helpful as far as making sure that a divorce goes as smoothly as possible, what have you. But what you can do, so let's say that I wanted this certificate of dissolution of marriage. And again, this is, as you can see, it says MO. So it's a MO form, it's a Missouri form. So certificate for dissolution of marriage, first of all, you get a description, and then you can also get a preview. And then these forms are usually downloaded either into PDF, Word, or rich text format. So I have a description of the form here, which this form is a record maintained by the Department of Health and Senior Services Bureau of Vital Records. So this looks like the form that is filed for public records regarding a divorce, because in case you don't know, marriage and divorce in most states, including Missouri as well as Virginia and the Carolinas, although I don't know about every state, but I do know about those 4 states, which are the 4 states I've lived in my life. In all of those states, marriage and divorce are public record. So it is the public's business. Whether or not you are married to somebody legally, it is the public's business whether you have been divorced or are divorced legally to somebody. So, having said that, yes, this would be what gets filed with Vital Records, and then you can also get a preview of the form. So this is a sample preview here, and this form is a PDF. So let's say that you did want to go ahead and download it because you were going to use it. Then you can just hit the download button and you get that PDF. Or if you get a form that is in Word format or is in rich text format, then that is how you're going to download the forms in those cases. But they can still be filled out and then filed or whatever the case may be. Now, what I am going to say, first of all, one thing that you will want to keep in mind when working with this database, particularly in the public library, when you are dealing with people who do not, I repeat, who do not have legal representation and don't think that they can afford legal representation. Just because you are downloading these forms, if you are not a lawyer, I would advise you to tell the patron, I am not a lawyer and I cannot give legal advice. Now, if you have a law degree, and there are quite a few people in this MLIS program who do have law degrees, so if you have a law degree and you feel comfortable giving legal advice, I guess go ahead. That's up to you and whatever library employs you. but I would recommend not giving legal advice, and I would recommend telling patrons I cannot give legal advice, and I had to do that in the public library more than once. But what you can do, again, is you can direct people to these forms, and they can do whatever they want to do with them. It's their business, what they do with them. Maybe they have an attorney working pro bono, so they are having to get the legal information for themselves for free because the lawyer is just working pro bono, but it's not actually going to look for the forms for them. Okay? So that is something that can be happening there. And again, there are a lot of things that are falling under the divorce thing. So feel free to take a look at any and all of it. And that should not happen. But okay. Let's try that again. Okay, well, whatever. Yes, whoops, our bad. I do not think that is my bad. But hopefully we can still search this database because it's the database that I am showing. All right, so some other things that you can do with this database. I am going to go back to the home page or the landing page. And what you can do, well, for one thing, you can do sample searches and that sort of thing. Divorce settlement agreements, divorce forms. So that's where you can get the divorce forms as well. So you have these broad main categories, but then you also have common sample searches. And so a lot of people will use this for landlord-tenant in public libraries. So you might want to familiarize yourself with how to find your landlord-tenant things, as well as, you know, automobile sales and that sort of thing. I think you can find some of that, bill of sale auto, those sorts of things. So you can find these types of forms in this database for free. And so it can come in handy, and it can come in handy even for you. And so, but there are sample contracts and things like that for services. Like, I'm going to pause for 1 second here just so I don't waste time. Hold on. Okay, perfect. So what I was hoping would be there and what I thought was going to be there is going to be there. So let's say that instead of, now again, you can do the sample searches, and that will probably help you get to some of these more commonly found things very quickly. Again, landlord-tenant is very popular. Divorce is very popular in these public libraries. And then other things, the bill of sale for boats, automobiles, those are big. And then wills, those tend to be big. So those were the things that I dealt with the most when I was in the public library. But let's say that, for instance, you wanted to hire a wedding photographer. So you can also do a free-form search for photography contract, for instance, and see if there's a sample contract. And so what you can do is see which of these is going to be the most appropriate for what you are going to do. And this will allow you to have like an agreement between your photographer and yourself, like if you have a wedding or something like that. So description, again, this is agreement between photographer and purchaser of photographs. Description, this is a sample contract between a photographer and a company to make photographs for the company for commercial use. Now, I think that this can also be done for an individual, and if not, I know that there is one for individuals because I have used it. At least I've used a North Carolina one. So this one is saying company. But again, I do think that there is, you might have to dig, and I am trying to keep this fairly short, not 30 minutes. So, again, now you can download. So I'm going to open this up. And then all you have to do is you just fill in the information. And I think, again, now I'm not giving legal advice, so I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I think also, and these are Word documents, so they can be edited if you do the enable editing. But I think that if you are an individual instead of a company, I think that you can actually also change the wording company to individual or whatever party. So this is a way that you can establish an agreement between yourself and a photographer to do photography for an event for you or anything of that nature. Again, this is for a company, but I think you can change the wording for individuals and that sort of thing. But there is one that allows you, at least for North Carolina, there was one that allows you to do a contract between a photographer and an individual, like for a wedding party or something of that nature. I am going to check one thing really quick. I'm just going to put, because again, with searching, it's not a fine art, it's trial and error. Okay, well, this is what you might want instead. So wedding photography, you can do agreement for wedding photography services, and then you can click the preview, and there you have it. So yeah, now it's referred to as client versus corporation, and that's what you would do if you wanted to be represented as an individual. So there is also an agreement for DJs. There are a lot of sample contracts that you can just fill in the blanks and put in names where the blanks are and that sort of thing, and fill in the contract that way, and it's still a legally binding contract. Okay. Now, again, if you want to do due diligence, you may want to go through a lawyer or something just to make sure you have all your P's and Q's. You're on your P's and Q's, or whatever the saying may be. I'm cold, so I'm all over the place right now. But that is essentially what you need to know. There are a few other things here. There's an attorney directory, which can be very useful. Tax forms, I think, are state and federal. Oh, well, okay. They have tax forms for all the states, I guess. So that's helpful, and I didn't even know that. But you do also have Q&A here. And so these are some things that you might want to, common Q&A, these are some things where if you're looking up these types of forms, you may want to go to the Q&A in order to just make sure there's nothing that you're not overlooking. So that is a brief intro into the legal forms database. A lot of students I've noticed are not aware of this, and also depending, because a lot of students in MLIS programs, they are people who, if they have library experience at all, it's in one type of library. So like a lot of the students, if they have like circulation or page backgrounds, or they were shelvers or shelf readers or anything like that, a lot of times they only have the public library experience, and they don't know what's in the academic libraries, or vice versa. They've got the academic library experience, but they don't know what the public library resources are. So we are going to, a lot of this, unfortunately, is throughout this class, a lot of things are going to be more academic library focused, just because I am more familiar with academic librarianship. I was only a public librarian for a year and a half, but I have close to 10 years experience as an academic librarian, so it kind of skews with the instructor. But I'm going to get that public librarianship stuff in there too, because a lot of you want to be public librarians, and it's a very noble profession. So with that said, let's keep this under 25 minutes. Let me get out of here right now. I'm Dr. J's Peace and Grace. Stay warm. I hope your power is either still with you or it'll be back soon. And aside from that, have a good week, and we will see you next week at that sync session, unless otherwise noted. Check for the announcements. Bye-bye.